Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. First in from India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Nepal's newly appointed interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki, reaffirming India's continued support for its neighbour during a period of political unrest. Prime Minister Modi also expressed condolences for the lives lost during recent protests in Nepal, which erupted over allegations of government corruption and a controversial social media ban. Karki assumed leadership following a military-led transition in the wake of a nationwide unrest that triggered the fall of the KP Sharma Oli government. At Windsor Castle, US President Donald Trump attended a state banquet hosted by King Charles during his second official state visit to Britain. In a toast, Trump hailed the eternal bond between the US and the UK, praising British heritage and claiming the two nations have done more good for humanity than any two countries in all of history. King Charles echoed the sentiment, underlining the country's historic defense, intelligence and security partnership. Trump announced that he intends to designate Antifa as a major terrorist organization. Writing on Truth Social, Trump called the left-wing movement a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster and urged investigations into an alleged funding. As per reports, Antifa, short of anti-fascist, is not a formal organization but a loose network of groups and individuals. Meanwhile, 3 police officers were killed and 2 others critically wounded during a shootout in Pennsylvania. Authorities said the confrontation began when officers returned to serve a search warrant at a property where they came under heavy gunfire. The suspected gunman was killed in the exchange. Residents lined the roads carrying American flags as a convoy of emergency vehicles transported the fallen officers, paying tribute to their service. Taiwan has signed its first ever deal with a foreign company to co-produce military weapons. Taiwan's National Chung-Shan Institute of Science and Technology and US defense company Anduril announced they would jointly manufacture a missile and the Barracuda 500 underwater drone. The Taiwanese institute said it would take 18 months to establish a full supply chain in Taiwan, with the drone eventually using entirely Taiwanese-made components. NATO forces carried out a major military exercise in Poland codenamed Iron Gate, showcasing tanks, jets and helicopters. The drill coincided with the Russian and Belarusian Z-pad exercises across the border. Poland's military said Iron Gate was part of a wider series of exercises known as Iron Defender, aimed at strengthening defensive readiness in case of an attack from the east. The exercise featured Polish troops as well as US forces. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a landmark mutual defense agreement. The deal was formalized in Riyadh, with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman embracing after the signing. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir was also present at the meeting. Clashes erupted at the Thailand-Cambodian border after Cambodians protested in the disputed area. The protesters removed barbed wire laid by Thai authorities. Thai police fired tear gas and rubber bullets, while Cambodians hurled wooden sticks and stones at them. This marked the most significant escalation since Thailand and Cambodia announced a ceasefire after their 5-day conflict in July. Venezuela began large-scale military drills on the Caribbean island of La Orchila in a show of force amid escalating tensions with the United States. The 3-day exercises, dubbed Sovereign Caribbean, were ordered by President Nicolás Maduro. State television broadcast images of Sukhoi fighter jets, naval warships, amphibious tanks and soldiers storming beaches as part of the manoeuvres. Former Brazilian President Bolsonaro was discharged from the hospital after being admitted for vomiting, dizziness and low blood pressure. Doctors revealed that tests detected squamous cell carcinoma, an early form of skin cancer, following the removal of lesions during a previous hospital visit. Bolsonaro remains under house arrest after a Supreme Court panel sentenced him last week to over 27 years in prison for plotting a coup following his 2022 election defeat. In climate news in India, a cloudburst in Chamoli district triggered flash floods and landslides. 6 buildings were destroyed, leaving at least 10 people missing. Disaster response team, ambulances, medical staff have been deployed, with 2 survivors pulled from the rubble so far. Rescue operations continue in difficult terrain. Heavy downpours and storms struck Melbourne, Palm Bay by surrounding areas of Florida. The agency warned of gusty winds, lightning strikes and locally heavy rainfall, along with moderate current risks along nearby beaches. A flood warning was also issued for the St. John's River near Astor, where minor flooding is expected to continue. In Ghana, women oyster farmers are struggling to keep their livelihoods alive amid climate change, deforestation and economic challenges. The mangrove that sustain the oysters have been depleted, with more than 80% lost since last century. This is forcing women to dive deeper and longer to find oysters. A US-funded training program once helped women repellent mangroves and adopt sustainable methods, but funding was cut during the Trump administration. Australia has announced a new climate target. They plan on cutting emissions by 62 to 70% by 2035 compared to 2005 levels. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called the pledge ambitious but necessary, saying rising seas and extreme weather threaten more than 1 million Australian homes by 2050. The country has invested billions in renewable energy, yet remains one of the world's largest coal exporters, sparking criticism of its reliance on fossil fuels. With less than 2 months before COP30, the major UN climate summit in Brazil, only 40% of countries have secured lodging in the Amazonian city of Belém. Some 50,000 delegates are expected, but hotel space is scarce and prices have skyrocketed. Organizers are scrambling to house participants in schools, private homes, and even cruise ships docked nearby. On to some business and tech news now. Asian equities traded mixed today after the US Federal Reserve lowered interest rates, but left investors wondering how many more cuts were in the pipeline. South Korea and Taiwan led regional gains with around 0.7% rises, while Japan's Nikkei 225 added 0.3%. Chinese stocks traded mixed and weakness in Australian and New Zealand markets dragged the MSCI's Asia Pacific Index, excluding Japan, down 0.1%. Indian benchmark indices edged higher today, with the Sensex and Nifty advancing for a third consecutive session after a rate cut in the US in an effort to shore up the country's labour market. Investor sentiment also drew support from recent GST reforms and the progress in India-US trade negotiations. The US Federal Reserve lowered interest rates for the first time this year, flagging slower job gains and risks to employment as policymakers face heightened pressure under President Donald Trump. The Fed cut the benchmark lending rate by 25 basis points to range between 4.0% and 4.25%, while signaling 2 more cuts this year. US private equity giant Blackstone said it plans to invest $123 billion on UK projects over the next decade, the biggest single deal unveiled during President Donald Trump's state visit. It follows planned multi-billion-dollar investments in UK artificial intelligence projects by US technology giants and a decision by British pharmaceutical group GSK or GlaxoSmithKline to invest $30 billion in the United States over the next 5 years. Spirit Airlines is set to cut jobs as the IT plans to capacity by 25% year-on-year in November, deepening woes of the lower-budget career. The cut by the airline aims to optimize its focus on the strongest markets, CEO Dave Davis told employees in the memo. However, the number of roles that could be impacted remains unclear. Panasonic aims to develop a new type of higher capacity battery in about 2 years, potentially extending the driving range of electric vehicles in a groundbreaking advance for the Tesla supplier. The Japanese company is working on eliminating the anode in battery during the manufacturing stage. The increased energy density through technology, it says, is likely to provide a world-leading level of capacity by the end of 2027. The families of 4 passengers killed in the June 12 crash of an Air India Boeing 787 said in a lawsuit that the accident resulted from allegedly faulty fuel switches, which the US Federal Aviation Administration has said do not appear to have caused the accident that killed 260 people. The lawsuit filed on Tuesday in Delaware Superior Court blames Boeing and Honeywell, which made the switches for the crash that happened seconds after the flight took off for London from the Indian city of Ahmedabad. Ben & Jerry's co-founder Jerry Greenfield, part of the duo whose names shaped the popular US ice cream brand over the last half-century, has quit his role as brand ambassador after a rift and public feud with parent Unilever over the conflict in Gaza. In an open letter shared by his business partner Ben Cohen on social media, Greenfield said that the Vermont-based company well known for its social activism on progressive issues, had in recent years been silenced by Unilever. Amazon said that it is investing more than $1 billion to raise pay and lower healthcare costs for US fulfillment and transportation employees, pushing up the average total compensation to over $30 an hour, including benefits. The technology giant said the average pay would increase to more than $23 per hour, adding that full-time employees will see their pay increase by $1,600 per year on average. Meta Platforms launched its first consumer-ready smart glasses with a built-in display, seeking to extend the momentum of its Ray-Ban line, one of the early consumer hits of the artificial intelligence era. CEO Mark Zuckerberg showed off the Meta Ray-Ban display and a new wristband controller, receiving applause at Meta's Connect event despite some demo problems. Moving to sports today, we begin with cricket. Pakistan beat the UAE by 41 runs in Dubai to set up a high-voltage Asia Cup rematch with India. After a delayed start due to a row over match referee Andy Pycroft, Fakhar Zaman top scored with 50 as Pakistan posted 146 runs. The UAE fell short at 105 with Abrar Ahmed, Shaheen Afridi and Haris Rauf taking 2 wickets each. Pakistan now join India in the Super 4 with the second clash set for Sunday. Phil Salt smashed 89 runs to fire England to a 4-wicket win over Ireland in the opening T20 in Dublin. Chasing 197, England cruised home with 14 balls to spare. Youngster Jacob Bethel, leading England at just 21, became the team's youngest ever captain. Ireland's Harry Tector and Lorcan Tucker struck half-centuries, but Salt's aggressive knock proved decisive as England took a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. In football, Harry Kane scored twice as Bayern Munich outclassed Chelsea 3-1 in the Champions League clash. A Trevor Chalobah own goal and a Kane penalty put Bayern 2 up. Shortly after, Cole Palmer pulled one back with a stunning strike. But Kane struck again in the second half to seal victory, punishing Chelsea's defensive lapses. It was a tough return to Europe's top competition for Chelsea, while Bayern underlined their status as early contenders. Virgil van Dijk headed a 92nd minute winner as Liverpool edged Atletico Madrid 3-2 in a Champions League thriller. Mohamed Salah scored early, but Atletico twice hit back through Marcos Llorente with the game. Heading for a draw, Van Dijk rose to seal victory, sparking wild Anfield scenes and even a red card for Diego Simeone after clashing with home fans. Atletico boss Diego Simeone has called for greater protection for managers after his fiery clash with Liverpool supporters at Anfield. Simone was sent off for confronting fans following Virgil van Dijk's late winner in the Champions League. The Argentine admitted his reaction was wrong, but said coaches should not have to endure constant insults. The Italian Super Cup will once again be staged in Saudi Arabia this December. Riyadh hosts the 4-team event featuring Serie A champions Napoli, runners-up Inter Milan, Cup winners Bologna and last season's holder AC Milan. This marks the 6th time the competition moves to Saudi. The announcement comes amid wider debate over European football matches being shifted abroad. La Liga has recently drawn criticism for plans to stage games in Miami. In athletics, India's Olympic champion Neeraj Chopra stormed into the men's javelin throw final at the World Championships. Chopra cleared 84.85 meters, crossing the automatic qualifying mark in a Group A. The 27-year-old is chasing a second successive world title. In badminton, Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty advanced to the round of 16 at the China Masters. The Hong Kong Open finalists beat Malaysia's Junaidi Arif and Roy King Yap 24, 22, 21, 13 in 42 minutes. It was the second win over the same opponents in many weeks after a quarter-final clash at Hong Kong Open. Star Indian shuttler PV Sindhu stormed into the quarterfinals of China Masters. The two-time Olympic medalist breezed past Thailand's Porpao Vichochu Wong in the round of 16. The five-time World Championship medalist sealed the match 21-15, 21-15 in just over 40 minutes. In Formula One, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris head into the weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix with McLarens on the brink of their 10th Constructors' crown. The pair have won 12 of 16 races this season and could clinch the title with a 1-2 finish. But they are also locked in a fierce Drivers' Championship fight, with Piastri 31 points clear of Norris. Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes will look to spoil the party, but McLaren remain firm favourites on the streets of Baku. And now updates from the world of showbiz. ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely following the host's controversial comments linking the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect to MAGA Republicans. The move comes after Nexstar, one of the largest TV station owners with 28 ABC affiliates, announced it would stop airing the show. Reports suggest ABC faced pressure from multiple affiliate groups as well as the Federal Communications Commission, whose chair threatened regulatory action. Kimmel had reportedly planned to clarify his remarks on air. The 2025 Latin Grammy nominations are out and Bad Bunny leads the pack with 12. He is in for Album of the Year as well as Record and Song of the Year. Producer Edgar Barrera and Argentine duo Catriel and Paco Amorosa trail close behind with 10 nods each. The Latin Grammy Awards will take place on November 13 at the MGM Garden Arenas in Las Vegas. Fans of Disney nostalgia rejoice. Camp Rock 3 is officially in production in Vancouver. The Jonas Brothers are returning to their roles and will also serve as executive producers alongside Demi Lovato, who starred in the original film and is now producing. The new storyline follows Connect 3 as they return to Camp Rock to find an opening act for their reunion tour. Lucasfilm has given fans a first glimpse of Star Wars Starfighter, directed by Sean Levy and starring Ryan Gosling, alongside newcomer Flynn Gray. The movie will be an original story set up 5 years after the rise of Skywalker. Behind the scenes, shots reveal that characters stranded at sea off the coast of Sardinia, Italy. The standalone film promises to expand the universe in new directions. And Amazon Prime Video is turning its hit drama, The Summer I Turned Pretty, into a feature film. The announcement came just after the series wrapped its third and final season, with creator Jenny Han confirming she will co-write the script. Han says only a movie could properly conclude protagonist Belly's journey. The film was announced at the show's Paris red carpet finale celebration. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.